Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. Hi, I am Marika, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today for this very special episode. Why? Because today I'm joined by the amazing LaTanya. LaTanya is a mother, a daughter, a wife, and a friend to many. At 40 years old, she has accomplished so many incredible things. But her journey hasn't been without challenges. Growing up in a home where abuse was prevalent, she faced shame. She faced shame that tried to hold her back from embracing her God-given love and passions. Yet, through it all, Tanya found refuge, healing, and her voice in faith. It is through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ that she discovered her strength, purpose, and ability to thrive. In today's episode, LaTanya will share her powerful story of resilience and faith, including the moment she realized her faith would be a refuge and source of healing, how she overcame the shame of her past to reclaim her passions and purpose, what finding her voice has meant for her as a mother, wife, and friend, how her relationship with God continues to guide her journey and empower her, a meaningful lesson or scripture that has been a beacon of light in her life. LaTanya's journey is a testament to the power of faith, resilience, and healing, and I know her story will resonate with so many of you. Her words are a reminder that no matter where we come from or what we face, there is hope, healing, and strength waiting for us. I can't wait I can't wait for you to hear her story and the incredible insight she has to share. So without further ado, let's welcome LaTanya to Speak Up Queen.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me today.
I am
I really appreciate it. So
well.
excited.
This is your time to shine, Queen. You can start by sharing your story so that you can be inspired, so that I can be inspired, and all the other Speak Up Queens can be inspired.
Oh, absolutely. I love to share that. And I'm actually thankful and honored for the opportunity because one of the things, obviously, as you can tell, like faith is very important to me. And I've spent a lot of time just reclaiming who I am through healing, through really being intentional about my path and journey in life to say like, you know what, I've been down, but I don't have to stay here. And so even through this, one of the things that God has told me is like, you have to start talking, you have to start sharing your story. And so that's really why I joined this podcast. And I was like, okay, so here's an opportunity, just of all the different things that I've kind of held on to and kept inside. And so now the Lord is telling me like, it is time for the great reveal, and of course, God gets the glory out of all things. And so, just a little bit about me again. I'm a mother of three wonderful kids, all different, like teenagers and a young adult. I'm a wife. I've been married for 20 years. I got married when I was 19 years old. Or no, I'm sorry, not 19. When I was 22 years old, but I've been with my husband since I was 19. Um, I have worked super hard in my career. I could, kind of climb that ladder pretty fast. Well, there's a reason why. So I grew up in a home where with a single mother and three brothers, where, there was abuse, there was physical abuse, there was sexual abuse, there was, a mental, emotional abuse growing up. And so my entire identity became based in that abuse, because it's all I knew. And so I grew in this place. And so I've learned to say, my drug of choice, through the abuse, a lot of people, they turn to drugs or alcohol or, promiscuity or different things. Well, my drug of choice was perfectionism. And so through that perfection, through just that abuse and wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard and trying to find a place of resiliency or a place of belonging, I worked super hard in my life, just to be seen. Perfectionism literally became my drug of choice until you reach the mountaintop. And what happens? There's no one else there with you, you know? And so through process over the last maybe 3 to 4 years, I've really um, stepped out and like, no, there's got to be more to life. And I want to reclaim my life and reclaim my identity, my God-given identity of who I am not the person that was abused, not the person that is shamed by my past, not the person that, everyone thinks that I am, or this perfect person, or this striver, this overachiever. No, 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 no. I don't want to be that person. I need to reclaim my God-given identity, the divine identity that God created me as. And so on that journey, I grew up with rejection and abandonment and, just missing so many things in my life. And so as part of my healing process, I said, I have an opportunity to reclaim who God says that I am. And so I did this course and I learned more about all the different identities that God in the Bible tells us, you are chosen, you are my masterpiece, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, you're adopted into my sonship, you are my beloved, you are my friend. The Bible tells us exactly who God created us to be. And so for myself, I chose as my divine identity that I walk in the power of is chosen. I am chosen. John 15:16 says, you did not choose me, for I have chosen you to perform a great work. And so that is my identity, that I can say that even when I'm having those moments and feelings of, not being good enough or great enough or whatever, I have a bracelet that I wear that says chosen.
Yeah.
So I get to walk in the power and the authority of who God has called me to be. And I've walked through these things so much so where my therapist says, all the things that you've been through in your life, you should not be this person that you are. Like most people, they're like strung out on drugs, they're homeless, or how did you get here? And I get to say that is only by the grace of God, that he chose me to continue to stand and walk in the power of who he has called me to be. So that's my story of that's the short snippet, but that is the best that I got there, because
Wow.
it is only by God's grace.
You have me almost in tears, Queen. It is like, I mean, I um like Psalm 23. That was that verse saved me as a child. Whenever
Mm,
something happened, that was the Bible verse I read for almost 10 years, every night and every morning.
yeah,
So for
yeah,
you coming that you are chosen, and it's just like a fire in my body, like how amazing it is for us to know that we have been sent to,
yes,
we've got a purpose in our life. And yeah,
yeah.
so what was the moment you realized that your faith would be your refuge sort of healing?
Oh man, interestingly enough, like I grew up in church and I grew up kind of like around God, and I knew like God is everything. I grew up that way, but there's a difference of like growing up and knowing it for yourself. And so um I think that I had to rely on God as my refuge. I had to run to him. And I although I've always known it and it's been a part of me, it's instilled in me. I think that turning point for me was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And I said, you know what? I will not be healed without him. The Bible tells us that by his stripes we are healed. And I will not be healed without him. I cannot do this alone. I've walked in my own. The Bible also tells us that in our weakness, our strength is made perfect in him, or his strength is made perfect in us, right? And so being able to surrender those things to him. And so I think that very moment, I have a story. Like I actually just had this experience where I went to this really big conference. I don't know if you've heard Sarah Jakes Roberts, really huge conference. It was in Dallas, 40,000 women. I just went in September. I went again last year, but they had this part of this conference, and they had someone there that was praying. And although like I feel like I know that God has saved me, and I've been victorious in freedom, and I've turned the corner, and I've overcome so much, that day was the first time where I actually received deliverance, where I was able to it wasn't just a spiritual deliverance, Like I could literally feel every weight, every chain in my life that had been holding me back literally physically break off of me. And it was a physical experience that I had, that there's a freedom that I now can walk in, you know. Even though like I've been fully surrendered, I pray, and that is my go-to, and I worship God and I give him my all. But that physical deliverance, I wish everyone could experience it. It was literally like painful. It was a physical pain, but it was a physical pain that like it was like something ripping out of me, and to receive that deliverance. And I'm like, ha, I don't have anything anymore holding me back. But that freedom that we have, Christ gave to us the day that he died on the cross for us. But I've had to learn how to walk in that, and walk in that power, walk in that freedom of knowing who God says we are, that I am.
Yeah. And it's just also so true that the body keeps the score. Like you said
Yes,
before, you felt it off. So when you start healing, it is really like you become this authentic human being, and your
yes,
body start, even if you say to yourself, no, I'm healing, but if your body doesn't believe it,
yeah,
you're gonna stay stuck. But I can just imagine how you felt when everything just, oh, I wish every woman could experience this in this healing journey. I really hope that every woman find that moment where they realize that they are so much more, so
yeah,
valuable. But
yeah.
yes, so let me do the questioning, because otherwise we will speak and I will be quiet now.
I know we'll be going on and on. I know it's so much to it. Yes, yes, yes,
How did,
yes.
how did you overcome the shame of your past to reclaim your passions and purpose?
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, a lot of that is related to, again, finding my true identity in Christ, right? And so God's grace is big enough and strong enough to take our shame, take the shame of our past and wipe it away, right? And so his grace is sufficient enough for us to, the past no longer exists. And so I think for me is recognizing who I am. Again, it goes back to the power and authority of who God says that I am. And I truly believe, and I think, I truly believe that everything that I've been through, it has purpose. It has purpose. And so, although like, and I think like I shared at the beginning of all of this, that I've always been so shy or afraid to really share my story, to really share the things that I've been through. Because why? Because I have this perfectionism, right? So perfectionism says you don't share your story. You'll be ashamed of that. You put that down. You suppress it, right? And so as I went on this journey of like finding my true identity and who I am, um, I could say that the shame is part of who I am. It's part of my journey. It's part of my past, but it's not who I am. And I don't have to live there. And I know that everything that I've been through is for a reason. Everything that I've experienced, everything that I've walked through, every pain, every bit of shame, God's love is great enough to wash it all away. And so as I, step into that and surrender, and I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to surrender those things that we're trying to hold on to, and being able to surrender that to God and say, you know what, God, this does not belong to me. This is not who you created me to be. And so I don't have to walk in that. I get to give that to you, and you get to wash it away because you love me so much. And so I think that, and I think it's when I'm saying like realizing, right? So we can intellectualize God, and we can intellectualize healing, and we can intellectualize shame, but it's not really what you intellectualize, it's what you carry in your heart, And so walking through and letting go and releasing and knowing that God is big enough to cover us in all of those areas. Um, I think that is where I start to be able to, it's almost like a baby bird in a shell, and as the baby bird kind of cracks through and the baby bird and the shell starts to fall off, and that baby bird kind of starts to walk in it. That's who you created to be. You stumble a little bit, but you start to walk into the power and the authority of who you are. Baby bird doesn't stop and say, Mom, is it okay? No, they just go. When it's time to go, they go. And so I think once I realized that I don't have to walk in the shame of my past, once I realized that I am not those things that happened to me in my life, those things that happened to me in my past, I'm a victor. I am not a victim. I am a victor. And so when I stopped thinking and acting like a victim, and start walking into the victory that is already belongs to me, that is when I get to walk into the fullness of who God has called me to be and walk into the full authority. Then I can hear him. I can hear the Holy Spirit. I can hear God's call over my life. I can step into the places that he wants me to be with all power, with confidence, with courage, and not look back and not have to second guess, because I know that he's going to cover me no matter what. And even in that, and I think the biggest thing with that is realizing that even in the darkest moments of my life, even when I'm in a pit, even when you're in a pit, even when you're in a cave, he's still there carrying you. He's still there with you. He still is there holding you and waiting with you even in those dark moments. And so when I accepted that and realized that, I was able to let some of that stuff shed off and walk into his light. And the Bible tells us to let his light be a lamp to our feet, and just keep walking and let him order our steps. And so I think that to me allowed me to get out of the shame and walk into my purpose and walk into the calling of who God says that I am.
And the effect when you found your voice and you started to share your story, how has it changed? What has it meant for you as a mother, a wife, and a friend? How did you become less perfectionist, more vulnerable?
Yeah.
What happened in your relationships?
Yeah. So, that's still a work in progress. But I think, you spend, 30 plus years in your life being one way, right? It's a work in progress to get to the other step. I think learning who I am authentically and being able to walk in my own authenticity that says, I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm not afraid to say what I don't like. I'm not afraid to, you know, to share my thoughts and my feelings in a respectful manner, even if you don't like it, right? I'm not afraid to set boundaries. I'm not afraid to, be true to what I'm actually feeling and say no if I need to. And so I think it's actually, the interesting part is, so I have 3 kids. I have a 20-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. And even in my relationship with them, going through this transition, you kind of bring your kids along in the journey with you in the process, because you still got to raise them while trying to transition on this journey of healing. And so, my daughter who's 20 years old, she's like, Mom, I really just want to know who you are, because we spend so much of our lives just being moms and all these other roles that you forget to be human. And so I think it's allowed me to learn how to be human more and understand that I'm not a robot, that I'm not, this made up person that I'm trying to present to people, but that I get to show up in my authenticity, in all I am, with all my flaws, and not be ashamed of who I am at all.
One thing I wanted to ask you for our audience today, say someone is also like you, racing, wanting to fit in, trying to be perfect all the time. Can you share with them if those value that you were seeking in someone else's opinions, was it worth running that rat race alone? And the difference between the two of them, when you were a perfectionism and you were trying to find your value in someone else's opinion, and when you showed up as your authentic self, shining in your light and just being you, what was the feeling that you experienced?
Oh,
Those two.
yeah, that's such a wonderful question. I think that the pressure is off, right? So there's no pressure to perform. There's no pressure to try to make someone else happy. There's no pressure to wonder, did they like me? Did I do it right? Or, oh man, I think I messed up. Or how did they feel? There's no pressure. You know why? Because it's like, I feel good about what I did and I'm confident in what I did. You know, of course, we always have to self-reflect, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think that transition from, being that people pleaser and worrying about someone else's opinion and, switching that power, that's what it is. It's so powerful, right? Because you take your power back. Because when you're seeking validation and you're seeking confirmation from other people about their opinion about who you are, what you're doing is you're handing them your power. You're handing them your power. You're giving them power to tell you who you are. You're giving them power to make decisions for you. And so being able to take that power back and being able to stand firm in who I am, it has been it's
Really.
so freeing, so powerful. I wish I had it early on in life. I wish everyone could have it, like understanding that you yourself are worthy. You are worthy to be loved. You are worthy to love yourself. You are worthy to take a break. You are worthy to go get that spa day and love on yourself and take some time away from everyone. You are worthy to say no if it doesn't feel good to you. You are worthy to say, you know what? I value myself more than I value your opinion about me. And that's okay. And I think like these things have allowed me to be more authentic and it changes your relationships, right? Like
Yep.
when you go from being this like people pleaser to now like I'm being authentic and I'm just walking in my own power, people are like, oh, you changed. Oh, you're different, you know? And it's like, no, I'm the same person. My values have now changed. Right. And so we all have the power to change. We all have the power to get better. And, healing is a journey, it's not a destination. There's no ending to it. We're always healing, we're always walking towards that. And so I would just say, like, setting those boundaries, be authentic to you, but also know, like, take care of yourself. And one of the things that I learned throughout this process is like, most of us, like when we say like self-care and love yourself, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna make sure I take my Target run or whatever, right? But some of that also includes, how do you talk to yourself when something goes wrong? How are you speaking to yourself when something in your life isn't going right? Are you beating yourself up? Or are you talking to yourself to say, you know what, it's okay. We got this. Are you encouraging yourself even in those moments when it's super hard? Because it gets lonely sometimes until you find your tribe through that process, right?
Yeah.
So those would be like the things that I would share with anyone.
It is so we are we I can hear myself speaking in your voice. I can hear it, and I was like, I wish that women would know how much other women they attract when they are on this
Mm,
path of healing, when they are showing up as their authentic self and owning their story. You attract the right
yeah.
persons. It's like, oh,
Yes.
where did all these women come from
Yep.
that support each other, that it's empowering each other?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And like I
Yeah.
said, you also said it, you wish you knew it earlier. I mean, I was 30 years old before I started my healing journey. But this,
Mm,
I
hmm.
want this platform, and I'm gonna definitely re-invite you again for another episode. Um,
Oh,
is for women that they don't need waste another minute of their lives doubting themselves,
yes.
feeling that they are not worth it. This is where this is
Yeah.
like, don't waste so many years. I mean, if I was 17 years old, if my 17-year-old had a podcast or something like this where I could just listen to
Yes.
someone who's been through it, not that I say that I mean I will take everything that happened to me all over again to be here today. But If I
Yeah.
could just help that 17-year-old child and tell her that it's gonna be okay. And there's women out there around the world. It's not just a
Yes.
town where some people will judge you because they know your past. There's a world out there full of women who are building their empires, who are taking their voices back and sharing it boldly.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think there's so many women, even 17, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, right, that have not yet found their voice as well, you know? And so I think like being a voice to the voiceless almost, you know, and letting people know that it's not impossible, that there's still time and you are still worthy even if you're later on in life to figure it out, you know, you're still worthy. Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome.
Well, Latanya, do you have anything else for all our Speak Up Queens? Is there a personal message that you want to send them? Yeah, let me just, you want to say something else?
Yeah, you know, yeah, like, you know, one thing that I wish I knew that I would share with anyone is that your life has purpose. And you know, one of my favorite scriptures is Romans 8:28. I think I shared that. Like, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and those who are called according to his purpose. And so, even your most painful moments, God can use that and turn that into the best moment of your life. And you just never know how whatever you've gone through or whatever you're going through can be used to bless someone else and can also be used to even bless you. And so, it's so important to not give up on yourself. And, you know, it's so important to continue to push through, but find that source. You know, my source is my faith. I love God. You know, there's some people that may be listening to this that may have a different faith or may have a different, you know, source of strength that they look for. But whatever that source of strength is, it's so important to hold on to that and lean into that, but still know that you are worthy and that everything that you need is already on the inside of you. You don't have to go look for it.
That is so true. We all have the answers. Yes, there is a lot of things out there, but at the end of the day, we know we can feel what is right and what is wrong. We can feel it in our
Absolutely.
bodies. That our bodies is this amazing thing. It's just, it's our home. We
Yeah.
just I feel like sometimes we are just numbing it with other people's opinions, just putting down, just
Yes.
numbing everything. But when you are like
Yeah.
on your healing and you're releasing, you know exactly. No, that's not working for me. This is not the friendship
Yep.
I want. It is just amazing how we have all the answers. It's just diving deep into and be willing. I mean,
Yeah.
be willing to change because me
Yeah.
and you could have both said, "Nah, we are going to be victims. It is what it is. No,
Yeah.
it happened to my grandmother, my great grandmother. It's our it's in our family. It runs in the family." But like you said, we are chosen. We are the chosen ones to change, to break these generational curses, these trauma,
Yes.
to be a light to someone else, to be a voice for someone else. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I'm so glad that you were here and my cup is full. Let me tell you, Mike, you filled my cup today. And
Oh,
I'm really, you just blessed me today with your presence. And I'm so grateful for you to putting up your hand, saying that you're willing to speak up on Speak Up Queen podcast. I think the audience is just gonna love it. Like I did. It is really, you just bless my cheeks is actually hurt because I've smiled so much today. It feels like my wedding day again. Like I couldn't I couldn't stop smiling because I was resonating with you. I
mm.
it was just like you are a powerful badass queen. And I'm so,
Well, thank
really so
you.
glad that you are on here. So, um,
And
LaTanya,
I thank you for having me. I thank you for, letting me come on and just share my story, and be able to share, just where I am and part of my journey. I do feel like God blesses us so we can bless others. It's not meant for us to hold on to it, it's for us to go out and share. So I really appreciate that.
thank you.